Welcome back to my channel. You already know it's your boy Hood Diggity the Rock Reactor back with another video. Yes, sir. Before I proceed, let me know where you tapping in from. Let me know what country, what city, what mountain, what hill, what cave, what island, what planet, what universe. Let me know where you at. Represent your hood. Yes, sir. We got Trump news. We got some Trump news. A world of love to my Ukraine, a plethora of peace for my Ukraine. As I stand with God, I stand with Ukraine. Yes, sir. I'm a little bit excited, guys, because I don't know why. I'm excited and I'm scared at the same time. I'm excited because I have a feeling that Ukraine will have peace. It's well-deserved peace after all they have gone through. I have a feeling peace is coming. That's part of me. Another part of me is telling me that Putin may get cornered and get crazy and a nuclear battle ensues and something catastrophic may arise. That's another part of me. Now, the biggest question, guys, and I would love my people from Ukraine to answer this, and even the people in Russia, even the Russian people that troll me and that always getting at me in the comments, even you guys, how far, this is my main question, this is the $1 million question, how far do you guys think that Putin is willing to take this war? How far? How much of his economy is he willing to sacrifice? How many innocent lives is he willing to sacrifice? How many soldiers? Is he willing to go until the last soldier is alive? Until there's one soldier left, until there's no soldiers left, until there's no oil left, until his economy just collapsed totally? How far is he willing to go? That's the main question. But anyway, let's get right to it. Trump says that he'll meet with Putin in Budapest to discuss the war in Ukraine. And before we do, guys, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. Any donations to my channel will be greatly appreciated. My PayPal account is on the description. Let's get right to it. CNN.
Zelensky again heads to Washington. U.S. President Donald Trump says he will be meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Hungary. And the announcement came after what Mr. Trump called a lengthy conversation today with the Russian leader. There's been no apparent date set for the Budapest summit. Mr. Zelensky, who is scheduled, of course, to be at the White House on Friday, is expected to push for additional long-range weapons. Sources tell CNN the U.S. has been sharing intel with Kyiv on striking targets deeper inside Russian territory. That would be an apparent shift in policy that both the U.S. and Ukraine hope will restart negotiations with Moscow. That is according to sources. The renewed efforts by the White House came as the European Union, as we've been discussing, is scrambling to develop a drone wall to counter airspace incursions by Russia. You heard my conversation with the Defense Minister of Norway this time yesterday. But a draft of the defense policy shows it may not be fully operational until next year. Betsy Klein joins me now from the White House. So Betsy, just bring us up to date with how that conversation went. We know it was productive. What came out of it?
Yeah, so President Trump described that call with Russia's President Vladimir Putin as very productive. He said that he discussed a future of U.S.-Russia trade relations, as well as returning some of those abducted Ukrainian children to Ukraine, as well as peace in the Middle East. He said that is something that could help grease the wheels for negotiations to end this conflict. But notably, some news about next steps. The president
See what I'm talking about, guys? He has abducted children in Ukraine. I heard something like that with the first ladies working on that to get those children back. I did hear something like that. I read something like that. I've seen something like that somewhere. But that's what I'm saying, that Putin is a desperate man who knows how far he's willing to go. If he's willing to abduct children, kidnap children, that's not even war. That's just crime. That's just, you're a criminal. You're not even a leader. You're a criminal. So how far is he willing to take this? That's the main question. I think that he may get desperate because he doesn't want to lose, because he knows also that it's going to make Russia look real bad. Even Trump is saying it.
Saying in a post to Truth Social, quote, "At the conclusion of the call, we agreed that there will be a meeting of our high-level advisors next week. The United States' initial meetings will be led by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, together with various other people to be designated. A meeting location is to be determined. President Putin and I will then meet in an agreed-upon location, Budapest, Hungary, to see if we can bring this inglorious war between Russia and Ukraine to an end." Now, notably, President Trump did not say when that meeting in Hungary would take place. But of course, this comes just 2 months after he met with Putin in Alaska for that key critical summit. And President Trump has become increasingly frustrated with Putin by the lack of progress in these negotiations, the lack of momentum that has really clearly stalled since that August 15th meeting, Issa.
Look, and the concern, I think, Betsy, with this call is that the president tends to react, Betsy, to whomever he has last spoken to. In this case, has been President Putin. I wonder whether that may not favor President Zelensky, of course, who's going to the White House tomorrow. We have seen further strikes, major strikes, I should say, in Ukraine, both in Sumy and in Kyiv. And we have heard pressure, not just from European allies, but also from President Zelensky for these Tomahawk missiles. I want to play what the president said on this. Have a listen.
I might say, look, if this war's not going to get settled, I'm going to send them Tomahawks. I may send that. The Tomahawk is an incredible weapon, a very offensive weapon. And honestly, Russia does not need that. They don't need that.
What is your sense, Betsy, from the conversations that you're having, or whether President Trump is prepared to go there? Because we heard Secretary Hegseth just in the last few days showing support to European allies.
Well, he's certainly making that case publicly, as we have seen Russian President Putin really push the boundaries in recent weeks with those strikes, as you mentioned, as well as those Russian aircraft incursions into countries like Estonia and Poland in recent weeks. So President Trump really looking for ways to up the pressure on Putin here. We saw that as he called on NATO countries to stop buying Russian oil products or risk sanctions from the U.S. We also saw that as the U.S. has increased intelligence sharing with Ukraine, including more information about targets inside Russia and that include energy infrastructure, facilities, plants, things like that in recent weeks. We have also learned that President Trump, both publicly and privately, is very seriously weighing the possibility of the U.S. sending those long-range Tomahawk missiles to Russia. That is of major concern for Russia. It would be a major escalation because they have a range of about 15.
He's supposed to be meeting with Zelensky first. So I think he's going to tell Zelensky, let's see. And Zelensky's going to be asking for those Tomahawks, of course. And this is just me putting it in my head. Trump is going to tell him, let's see what he says. Let's see what he tells me in Budapest. And Putin already has a reputation of playing with Trump. He plays with his head. He'll tell him yes. He'll tell him whatever he wants to hear. And then he'll go back and continue the war. And then what's going to happen is that Trump is going to get even more upset. And Trump is going to say, okay, so you think I'm playing, and release those Tomahawks to Zelensky. Because, guys, to tell you the truth, I don't see him wanting to stop the war because he knows he has a lot to lose. If he stops the war, it's going to look real bad on him. He's going to look weak. Then again, if he doesn't stop the war, his economy is going to collapse. And Russia is just going to turn into a lot of little small countries because everybody's going to want to save themselves and get independent.
100 miles and can be quite lethal. So the president did not mention that in the readout of his call with Russian President Vladimir Putin. It's unclear if it came up. We're going to hear from him in the next hour or so. We'll see if we get an update on that.
Yeah, and see if we get a reader as well from the Kremlin, see how President Putin, how productive the meeting was on his end. Betsy, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed.
We have former NATO Supreme Allied Commander General Wesley Clark with us. What do you make of this meeting now on the books? President Trump and Vladimir Putin going to meet in Hungary.
Any discussions can be good, but it depends on what happens in the meantime. So if Putin believes he's winning, then the discussion becomes a means to prolong the war by offering trade. Let's talk about strategic nuclear stuff. Let's talk about space. Let's talk about what we can do after the war is over in order to hold the president from providing the assistance that Ukraine needs in order to put Putin in a disadvantageous position, so he has to stop the conflict. So what's happening? What's happening with the Tomahawk missiles, other assistance? What's going to happen tomorrow with President Zelensky and President Trump? It's really hard to see the direction of the administration. It sounds like the administration's getting tough, but we know that President Trump doesn't really want to get tough with Mr. Putin because he sees some value in the U.S.-Russian relationship after the conflict. Now, here's the truth about trade.
He's a businessman.
Most U.S. businesses don't want to go into Russia and operate. It's a mafia-infested environment. And the businesses that go in there are oil businesses in which they're competing with some of the president's greatest supporters here in the United States in the production of U.S. oil, and the effect on global oil prices. So it's a little confusing at this point. In other words, if I were to come down on it, what I would say is the call with Putin was designed to forestall further military assistance to Ukraine. That's why he would call. That's his diplomatic strategy.
Yeah, because
you can have a lot of hopes about it.
Yeah, can you talk about that? Because the discussion of providing Ukraine with Tomahawk missiles and the sort of permitting Ukraine or blessing Ukraine to take a more aggressive approach when it comes to going into Russia, what would that mean in the course of this war?
It's all about prime pressure.
Really would put President Trump more at odds with Mr. Putin. And so he can threaten it, but he doesn't want to do it. And Putin knows this, and so Putin is going to find a way to convince President Trump, but let's hold off on this. Don't give him any more assistance. I'm sure we can work out something. Or he's going to tell President Trump at some point, just get out of the way. I'm going to finish this. But the thing is that the Russian military is not capable of following through on what Putin wants. Ukrainian military is doing quite well. They're pushing back along Donbass, and the Russian military is taking huge losses. But I don't think at this point that Mr. Putin is prepared to say, okay, I give up. That would be a great shock.
Do you hope or think that Trump may be emboldened by being seen as sort of this peacemaker and in helping work out this ceasefire on the war in Gaza, especially right now as it sort of appears to be hanging a little bit on the edge? Do you hope that that informs him to be tougher on Putin?
I hope he'll be tougher on Putin. But on the other hand, it cuts both ways. If he could get some kind of a ceasefire with Russia and Ukraine, even if there's nothing behind it but a temporary cessation of hostilities during which Russia rearms, reinforces its forward troops and prepares for the next stage, he might feel that he was successful because the next stage wouldn't necessarily happen. Just like in this case in Gaza, most people looked at this and they said, it's going to be very, very tough to disarm Hamas. You say they're going to leave. They've said, but once they're up and above ground and the fighting's off. And so when you're president of the United States, you get the credit for what you've done. You got a ceasefire in. I think you'd like to get a ceasefire in Ukraine. But all of our friends in Europe, and especially the Ukrainians, will warn us that if there's just a ceasefire, no peace agreement, nothing beyond it, that ceasefire is a time where Russia is going to build up its forces to launch the next phase of its offensive. So there's got to be more than simply what he did in Gaza. I hope he realizes that. And I hope the president would see this and understand what the game, the strategy that Mr. Putin plays, which is, I'm going to dangle all these great things afterwards. Just let me have Ukraine. Just back away. Don't do so much for them. That's the Russian strategy. And occasionally it's coupled with nuclear threats. And it basically worked against President Biden, where we did not give them enough to succeed. And I hope that President Trump sees more clearly and is able to understand that without effective military assistance, more than we're providing right now, more than what the Europeans can do, that Mr. Putin is going to continue to wage this war, and it's going to be a very, very ugly winter for the people in Ukraine.
General Wesley Clark, always great to speak.
See, I don't think Trump, unless Trump gets aggressive on Putin is not going to stop, because Putin, he lost. He already lost. Putin lost already. No matter what happens, he could win and he'll lose still. If he pushes up, he, like this gentleman said, he doesn't have the capability right now to win the war against Ukraine. Ukraine is hitting him hard. Slava Ukrainian. And if he gives up, then he looks bad in front of his people. He looks bad in front of the world. He looks weak. So I think this meeting is just going to put a Band-Aid on it. However, Trump is unpredictable. So Trump could just say, okay, nothing's okay. It depends how aggressive Trump comes in. It remains to be seen. The main question I want to ask you guys, and please answer this in the comment, how far do you think that Putin's willing to take this war? How far? Would he go as far as making his whole economy collapse? Would he go that far as to having people already crying of the oil prices, and they say they can't get no gas or anything in Russia? The citizens are already crying. But how far is he willing to go? Do you think he's this desperate that he'll just start a nuclear war? I mean, please let me know, guys. And, of course, subscribe to my channel. Hit the notification bell. Hit the like button. Any donations to my channel will be greatly appreciated. My PayPal account is on the description. Love you, Ukraine. Peace, love, and God bless.